this is Emerald and welcome to the Diamond Net. And today I want to share with you an insight that I had about the present moment. Alright, so if you've watched a few of my videos before, you might have heard me mention the fact that I've had a contemplation habit ever since I was a small child. So I used to ask myself like a lot of existential questions, like, oh, if I'm not looking at the bedroom that's over across the hall, is it actually still there? Or sometimes I would just try to figure out what time was. And so I was always thinking, like, what if time was just a series of still frames and like we're just kind of seeing one frame after the other, and then time stops forever and ever and ever in between, but we just don't realize it because as the frame stops, so does our consciousness. And so this was kind of a thought that I had toyed with, and I was always, because of this, trying to hone in on exactly where the present moment is, and it always seemed like it was very, very far out of reach. And I was like, always thinking that time was a weird concept because it was sort of like it almost seemed like it was a made up thing. And so I was always trying to figure things out in that way. And I had assumed that on some level that I didn't understand time was actually real. But I was realizing recently that time really is just kind of a construct, an idea of something that we put on top of things to make them easier for us to manage as people and to go through our day and to be able to manage things. And so the other day I was watching Bentinho Massaro, who's another YouTuber who's like talks about spirituality and things like that. And he was saying something about time not existing and movement not existing. And that kind of reminded me of that contemplation that I used to do, where I used to think about reality as frame after frame after frame. And he was basically saying that reality is that way, and that every single second that things go from one thing to another, because change is impossible and movement is impossible, that basically that time didn't actually exist, but that it was this series of still frames. And then I started thinking, well, how would I hone in on that? If it is a series of still frames, like what exactly is the present moment? And I came to the realization that the present moment doesn't actually exist, because by the time you're actually able to focus on it, it's already in the past. And so often in many spiritual backgrounds, there's this thought that all of this is an illusion. And that makes sense because what your consciousness consists of is always the present moment. It's always the content going on in the present moment. And if the present moment itself doesn't actually exist as an inherent quality in things, then that means that it really is an illusion. So that finally made sense to me. But the reason why you can't hone in on the present moment is because what amount of time could the present moment actually exist for? It becomes kind of a non-point, because no matter how close you get, you're always going to be infinitely far away from honing in on exactly what the present moment is. Even if your awareness was so high that you could potentially just get in as close as possible, you're still going to be forever away because, like I said, the present moment itself is kind of a non-point. And so this was actually like a really big breakthrough realization for me. It was like I had been wondering about this for 20 years, and it was just hearing those couple of things from that other YouTuber that really helped me sort of make sense of that. Like this whole time I had sort of been kind of taking for granted that time might exist on some level, and that the reason why I couldn't hone in on the present moment is just because, it's hard to do that as a human being. But I'm actually thinking now that it might be impossible because it doesn't exist. And so it's just really, really interesting. So what I encourage you to do, I encourage you to actually try to find the present moment, and always notice that no matter how close you get to actually getting it, by the time you've realized the present moment, it's always in the past. And the thing about the past and the future is that they're always thought stories. And so in a sense, the present moment is always in the past. So for me, it was a major breakthrough because I had basically gotten to this point where I was trying to boil everything down only to what I'm perceiving right now in the present moment. And so I was thinking, okay, well, I'm seeing things, I'm hearing things, smelling things, tasting things, feeling things, and then I also have these thoughts coming up. And all of those things are playing out in combination in this empty awareness that is me. And that's like an idea, like I haven't quite grasped that yet. And so I was really trying to figure out, like, what are those? Are they just things floating in space? And I was just taking for granted that the present moment itself actually existed when I had never had an actual experience of it. Even right now, as I'm becoming aware of things, the only thing I'm aware of is that an actual memory of having experienced the present moment a split second ago. And so for me, this has kind of opened up some new venues for greater inquiry into the nature of reality. And hopefully it can even assist me in my self-inquiry practice and to help me figure out, like, existentially what is going on here, what it is that I am beyond all assumptions and meanings placed upon me that I think that I am. All right, so just wanted to share that insight. Hopefully that it was helpful for you. For me, I was pretty jazzed to have finally made a breakthrough on a 20-year-old contemplation. But that's all I have for you today. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, go ahead, click the like button below and go ahead and subscribe. Other than that, that's all I have for you. And until next time, keep becoming more you.